What's up, everyone? Today's video is to talk about and illustrate how all bad events, or seemingly bad events, no matter how big or small, aren't necessarily bad for you in the long run or short run just because they appear to be bad. And this could be something as small as stubbing your toe to something as large as getting fired or getting rejected from the company of your dreams or the university of your dreams. And as a disclaimer, this isn't to say that everything that seems bad isn't bad for you. Sometimes it just is. But to just on a myopic and very shallow, short-term perspective say, oh, this is the most terrible thing ever, is not the smartest thing to do. And here's just a few examples to illustrate the process. So Warren Buffett is one of the best investors of all time. His investment choices have made him and his company Berkshire Hathaway billions of dollars. If you read his biography, The Snowball, or you just research his history, you'll find that there's a very, very high chance that if he was not rejected from Harvard Business School, which he applied to, he would not be the man he is today, and he probably wouldn't have made close to as much money as he has now, if any money at all. And you could just very much see this when you get into the details of the book The Snowball, because you'll realize that because he was rejected from Harvard, he went to Columbia Business School, which is where he met in person and was under the personal tutelage of Benjamin Graham. And one of his famous quotes is that he's 85% Benjamin Graham and 15% Phil Fisher. And so he invested like Benjamin Graham for at least the first 10 to 20 years of his investment career. Later on, he started using different techniques, but initially that's where his framework came from. And I feel like he definitely would not have adopted that as strongly if he did not meet Benjamin Graham, who taught at Columbia Business School. Further along in his lifetime, he worked for Benjamin Graham after first being rejected by Benjamin Graham, but later on he was able to work for Benjamin Graham's firm. After that firm closed down, he had enough money to just sit back and live the rest of his life. At the time, I think it was around 100,000, 200,000, which adjusted for inflation is now like $1 million or so. So he was a great investor. But at the age of like 30 years old, he thought he had enough money to just not even work, just sit at home with his family and just live the rest of his life. And that was his plan. Benjamin Graham stepped in and recommended a lot of his clients after his firm closed down to Warren. And because of that, Warren's like, okay, I'll take this on. And that's how his partnership started, which later on he closed after about a decade, and then subsequently he started up Berkshire Hathaway. So these sort of events would not have occurred if Ben Graham did not recommend his clients over to Warren Buffett, and he for sure wouldn't have done that if he never met Warren. And if he had never met Warren, then Warren would probably be pretty well off, but he would have had a different plan in mind. He would have made a decent amount of money and then just lived the rest of his life as a millionaire. So these sort of things are interesting. Now, to say for 100% that's the case, we don't know. Perhaps he would have still made a great contribution. He may have still become very, very rich had he gone to Harvard and not met Benjamin Graham. Perhaps he still would have invested on the side after he accumulated a lot of money, because I'm pretty sure, based on what I've read in the book, that he would have made a lot of money anyways. But to say he would have gone as far as he did, one could argue that wouldn't have been a possibility, because he wouldn't have been spurred to start a partnership and later on create and own Berkshire Hathaway had it not been for Ben Graham stepping in and saying, hey, don't just live the rest of your life with the money you've accumulated from your investing prowess while you work for my firm. Why don't you start your own little partnership with some of my clients? So that's one example. Another is the common one, which most people know. You guys have heard of Apple, right? iPads, iPods, iPhones. Apple CEO Steve Jobs. Currently, it's not Steve Jobs. It's a different CEO. But at the time, Apple's founder was Steve Jobs. Long story short, he was fired from his own company by the board of directors, which it's a good, check and balances system, in my opinion. You can't have the CEO have complete control of everything, but at the same time, he was probably very distraught having been fired from his own company. So he didn't give up, and because of him not giving up, and because of him being fired from Apple, he started Pixar, which, as you guys now know or may not know, is one of the cornerstones and reasons that a lot of great Disney and animated movies are made, such as the Toy Story film series. I am almost adamantly sure that Pixar alone has impacted billions of lives with the films that have been created because of Pixar. And in addition, Pixar has spurred across a whole genre of 3D animation and competitors of 3D animation that probably would not have been there had Steve Jobs not invented Pixar. In addition to that, Steve Jobs eventually came back as the CEO of Apple and brought about this whole generation of new products that have probably impacted billions of lives, even more so than Pixar did. With the iPhone, the iPad, iTunes, all the stuff that came with it, it probably, potentially may not have happened had he been in a state of lethargy or stasis from not being fired from Apple in the first place. Now, we don't know that for a fact, but it is something to think about. One could say that he may not have been spurred to invent the iPod, the first thing in the first place, before the iPhone or iTouch were invented, had he not been fired, and then he went through all that stuff with Pixar and so forth. But it's something to think about, and it's really something to ponder. And a lot of people don't really realize the impact of it, because it goes beyond just the products that Apple made. It's also a lot of the software and free open source code that Apple created later on that subsequently became the core of a lot of softwares and technology of their competitors, such as the Android phones. And obviously it's Apple in itself spurred a lot of growth subsequently that impacted a lot of its competitors to create new products themselves, such as Microsoft's products in the phone industry and tablet industry. But I can go on and on about that. You get the point. And I just want to conclude with the whole disclaimer that I'm not saying that this is conclusive evidence or even related to the fact of everything happens for a reason, or that the whole idea that everything's intertwined in destiny and everything happens for a reason and ultimately it's all good. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that some bad things can end up being good things. So don't cry yourself to sleep if something bad happens to you. And the reason I added that disclaimer is because some bad things are, in my opinion, straight up bad things. Sometimes you got fired from work, and it's hard to see how it can really benefit you. And oftentimes there are people who live their whole lives, and them being fired from work or being rejected from a school in no way really benefited them in the future. However, I definitely do think that your perspective and how you bounce off of that and how it motivates you can have tremendous effects, as you guys have seen in Steve Jobs' case, in growing tremendous results. And I think that's one of the distinctions between a lot of winners and losers in this time and age. A lot of the losers will just give up and just say, wow, that sucks. A lot of the winners are like, okay, I got fired from this job. Maybe it's because I'm a lazy, stagnant loser who needs to wake up and smell the roses and get a handle on my life. Maybe I can do something about this, and this job was a dead-end, horrible job anyways. Maybe I should start waking up and realize that I got fired because I was a poor worker, I'm a poor individual, but I can change that, and I can learn, and I can improve and grow from that. And that sort of mindset, along with consistent long-term work, can potentially, it's not guaranteed, potentially, there's a lot of other factors at play, another disclaimer, potentially yield fruitful results in the long term. But again, it's definitely, it's something to think about, how your mindset, based after a failure, can definitely impact you and change you, and potentially or potentially not yield fruitful results, because the loser's thinking, oh yeah, I got fired because of this or because of that or because my boss is a dick, and they love to blame others rather than look to themselves and change and grow, and they just fall into a place of stagnation and don't learn from the experience and blame others, and ultimately don't go anywhere. Another quick example is the people that Jordan Belfort scammed on The Wolf of Wall Street. In the book The Wolf of Wall Street, which is based a lot on real events, if not the whole thing, Jordan Belfort pretty much scammed a lot of people. He talked to a lot of high net worth and middle class net worth individuals and convinced them to invest most, if not all, of their savings in a crappy stock. And I saw like a aftermath video many years later, after the events of that scamming, lost a lot of their savings, and a lot of these people, a lot of these victims, just blamed others, like, oh, it's your fault, it's his fault. And one of them was somewhat smart enough to say, like, if I just blame others, I won't get anything out of this. But then he went on to blame others again after saying that. But it's something to think about. And obviously I don't know the whole story behind that, and there's a lot of details and stuff in it that I probably don't know. So I can't really say if it's really their fault or not. But I do feel that when you're investing like your entire savings in something, you really have to be exceptionally careful and really understand completely what you're investing in, and really assess all your risk, and not just believe what someone tells you. And so it's one of the things to think about. And on top of that, it's something to think about in terms of mindset and mentality, to how you approach and think about a setback or failure or obstacle in life. Thanks. If you guys like this video, leave a comment, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.